Hey quilting friends, it's Carolina Moore here for Stitch in Heaven, and today we're going to talk about this 18.5 inch by 4.5 inch quilting ruler. Having a nice long ruler like this is essential in quilting, and I'm going to show you how to make the most of a ruler like this, especially if you have a limited cutting or quilting space, and what some of the different lines on this ruler do. You ready? Let's get started. So I have a nice big piece of fabric here, and you can see that if we go from the selvage to selvage, or even the selvage to the fold, there is not enough space on my cutting mat to cut this piece of fabric. So in order to cut a piece of fabric that is bigger than our mat, or even bigger than our ruler, because this ruler only goes to 18.5 inches, so it's not quite big enough to cut a full selvage to selvage piece of fabric, we're going to fold it not exactly in half. So what you want to do is you want to line up, and we'll go down here, line up the bottom edge with a line on your mat, and we just got this folded not exactly in half, and we want to line up the top edge also with a line on the mat. And it doesn't have to be one of the solid lines. In this case down here, it's one of those 1/4 inch lines. And that's good. Now every strip that I cut this way will be straight. It won't have a V or a notch in it at all, and the reason that I know that is because of basic algebra. I've got 2 parallel lines, and so I know if I cut a line that is 90 degrees to this line, it will be 90 degrees to this line, and I'll have perfect cuts every time. So let's go ahead and cut one end off here to get ourselves a good, nice, crisp start. Nice fresh edge to start. There we go. And see how I had to peel that away? It's probably time to replace my rotary blade when I don't get nice clean cuts like that. If you ever find that you're having to push harder down on your rotary cutter to get nice clean cuts, that means that your rotary blade is dull and it's time to change it. A sharp rotary blade is much safer than a dull rotary blade, because a sharp rotary blade doesn't need as much pressure, which means you have a lot more control. When you're pushing down really hard, you are putting all of your weight behind it, and you don't have near as much control on your rotary blade as you should have. So make sure that you keep those blades nice and sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 inches, which means I've got my lines here. I'm just lining up that 2-inch line with the edge of my fabric. And there we go. And you can see there's no V's or notches on my strip. I have a beautiful, straight, clean strip across all those folds, because I made sure that top and that bottom fold were exactly parallel to one another. They were on those lines. We can go ahead and cut a bigger strip. I know that this ruler is 4.5 inches, so if I want to cut a 4-inch strip, I just go a 1/2 inch away from this edge, or I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. I'm going to line up my fabric. There we go. And I can cut myself a nice 4-inch strip of fabric. So now we can subcut our strips into smaller pieces that we might need for our quilts. So I cut this as a 4-inch strip. If I need 4-inch squares, I can go ahead and cut 4-inch squares from this. I'm going to line this up on my mat, and the first thing that I want to do is cut off this selvage end. The selvage has a different weave to it, and you don't want that in your quilts. So we're just going to trim that off. Some people like to collect their selvages and save them for selvage projects. If that's you, put it in a selvage bin. If that's not you, I give you permission to just go ahead and throw it away. So we want to cut 4-inch squares. I'm going to line up this 4-inch edge here and the top. And there we go. I've got a 4-inch square. Now if we wanted to cut this 4-inch square in half, we have these 45-degree markings on our rulers. And I'm not lining it up here on the mat. You don't need to line it up here on the mat. All I'm doing is lining up this 45-inch edge here and cutting, and that way I can cut half square triangles. If I wanted to cut edges straight on my strip that are at that 45-degree angle, that's also easy to do. I'm just going to line up that 45-degree line, find a point here, there we go. I want to make sure I'm not cutting off my point. Then I can cut. If I want this angled strip to be 4 inches, I'm going to measure off a half an inch off of my ruler. So that's my 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. Make sure that I'm lining up this top edge as well as that cut edge. And then you can cut nice angled pieces as well. There are other markings on this ruler that will help you do different things. There is a nice center point right here. So if you wanted to do a fussy cut, you can find the center, and it's telling you where the center of your ruler is. This is a 4.5-inch ruler, so your center is right there at 2 1/4. It's 18.5 inches long, so 9 1/4. It's telling you exactly where the midpoint of this ruler is if you need it. And if you ever have any questions about any Creative Grids rulers, you can always just scan that QR code. And by scanning that QR code, it'll take you to a video from Creative Grids showing you exactly how to use your Creative Grids ruler. Thanks so much for watching, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave those down below. And make sure you subscribe to the Stitch in Heaven YouTube channel. There are so many more fun videos coming your way. Bye for now.